This episode of Simple Civics Greenville County is brought to you by Dolly Parton's Imagination Library, providing free books to children 0 to 5 throughout Greenville County. To sign up, visit greenvillefirststeps.org/freebooks. That's greenvillefirststeps.org/freebooks.
If you've driven down I-385 recently or spent any time in the southern part of our county, you know that Simpsonville is no longer just a quiet bedroom community. With a booming population, a thriving business district, and massive draws like the CCNB Amphitheater at Heritage Park, it has quickly become a primary destination of choice for people moving to the upstate. But as a city transitions from a small town into a bustling suburban hub, the demand on infrastructure, municipal planning, and government services changes dramatically. I'm Katy Smith with Greater Good Greenville, and on this episode of Simple Civics Greenville County, I talk with T. Coker, the city administrator for the city of Simpsonville. T stepped into the role in 2025, bringing an extensive background in regional city planning and community development from his time in both the private sector and with Greenville County. Today, T joins me to discuss what's great about the city of Simpsonville, the major balancing acts they are navigating right now, from managing rapid residential growth to driving downtown revitalization, and exactly what a city administrator does and how Simpsonville's specific form of government operates. Take a listen so you can understand how local government works on the ground and what the future holds for one of the fastest growing corners of the county, which is celebrating its 125th anniversary this year. I'm so glad to be here with T. Coker, City Administrator for the City of Simpsonville. Thanks for being here, T.
Katy, thank you. It's great to see you. I'm happy to be here.
Well, we've known each other a long time with you in different roles, and I'm glad we'll be able to talk about a couple of those different hats you've worn over your career, all of which are for the public good. But let's just start with a high-level snapshot of the city of Simpsonville. In just a quick couple minutes, give us some baseline data about history, population, and the like.
Absolutely. So Simpsonville started really as a rail stop, heading out of Greenville down into Lawrence County. It was known as Plain, Plain, just Plain. In 1901, it was incorporated, actually on August the 13th. We'll get to that in just a minute. And so the name was changed from Plain to Simpsonville, and it was named in honor of Peter Simpson, who was the town's postmaster. He was also a blacksmith, and before that, a farmer down in Lawrence County. So the city has been in existence for almost 125 years. We are so happy to be celebrating our 125th anniversary as a city. We actually have a Founders Day celebration planned for the week of the founding, the founding is August 13th. So starting on Monday, August 10th through Thursday, August 14th. So SparkFest is our Founders Day celebration. So it will include events like a mayor's banquet, a dedication of a statue of the city's longest serving mayor, as well as a block party out at our new signature park, Gracely Park. Simpsonville has grown significantly, and in 2020, the population was around 23,000. Today, it's closer to 29. We expect that by the next census, it'll be well over 30. So it has grown significantly, and the way that Simpsonville has grown, really, it goes back to, if you want to go all the way back, after the founding of the city, you had a town that was built around the rail in 1910, more or less. The Woodside Mill came online, so Mill Village was built on the west side of the rail line, and Simpsonville didn't grow a whole lot, really, until after World War II. And so as the Greenville metro area grew, so did Simpsonville. As growth accelerated in the larger area, it accelerated in Simpsonville. And so by the 1970s, you had these major subdivisions coming online. One named Westwood was at the time the largest subdivision in the state. And so essentially, Simpsonville was part of the great American suburban experiment. And so just in more recent decades, the city has expanded its footprint through annexation, some larger subdivisions, but it's also been able to really develop some strong commercial districts. And so Fairview Road is probably the one that most of your listeners will be familiar with. That's our kind of our big box alley with Kohl's and Lowe's and Home Depot and all the rest. We also have a downtown, which we'll get to later, which is really has more of like a mom and pop historic vibe to it. And then we have other commercial nodes out on Highway 14, West Georgia Road. We're home to the upstate's only IMAX theater. And we're also home to the largest outdoor performing arts facility in the state. So we've got a lot going on in terms of growth. A lot of that, again, is sort of pushed the edges of the city outward. At the same time, the unincorporated county and the adjacent cities, Malden and Fountain Inn of the Golden Strip, have grown. And so really just Simpsonville is just part of a larger growth story of this area.
So you talked about the really charming downtown that Simpsonville has always had, but that is really getting revitalized in some ways.
It sure is.
Will you talk about it a little bit more?
Absolutely. Well, Katy, right now we are in the early stages of a $23 million phase of our downtown revitalization. It's a streetscape component. And so it will connect our new municipal campus to the heart of downtown, which a lot of folks know the ice cream station. It's an old depot building. And so it's about a 3-block stretch on East Curtis Street. And then there's also a larger stretch, about a third of a mile, half a mile along our main street. And so the types of improvements that you're going to see are tied to, really a lot of it is going to be what you don't see. It's all of the infrastructure below ground. We have 100-year-old, 120, 125-year-old infrastructure in many cases. All of that's going to be replaced. So all of the underground infrastructure above ground, you'll see, the roads will be redesigned, the sidewalks will be widened. We'll have decorative street lamps. We'll have park benches. We'll have street trees. When I say sidewalk, for those of your listeners who are familiar with Simpsonville, our municipal campus features sidewalks that are about 10 feet wide. They really feel more like shared
like a multi-use
paths.
path, yeah.
Absolutely. And so the streetscape project will also include a multi-use path as well. So the biggest change is in terms of functionality is that there will be a divided couplet. So instead of every street in our downtown being two-way, 2 of our streets will actually be converted into 2 lanes of one-way traffic. But part of the reason is really to untangle this knot at our 100% corner in downtown at Main and Curtis. The other reason is to be able to have more land, more really for people. So for sidewalks and curb lawns, and really downtowns are for people. I mean, downtowns are for people in cars. Downtowns are for commuters, but they're also for people. And so in our downtown, the priority is not so much how many people can we pump through downtown each morning and evening. It's, how can we create a downtown where people are able to commute through it, but we want more people to go to it, to get out of their cars, to walk safely, parents with strollers, senior citizens. How do we make sure that it's a lovely, safe experience for everyone?
If you're having trouble imagining what that might look like as a Simpsonville resident or visitor, it makes me think of the transformation that must have happened for City of Greenville residents when in the late 70s, early 80s, they converted Main Street from 4 lanes to 2 lanes. And if you are a newer resident and didn't know that history, you probably can't even imagine 4 lanes of traffic going through the heart of the city of Greenville's downtown. But now we accept and love that it is a primarily pedestrian experience, which is what makes our downtown in Greenville so vibrant. So I'm excited for you to have that more present in Simpsonville.
Well, thank you. I'm excited too.
Well, the municipal campus and the parks near it and so much of Simpsonville is outstanding quality of life. And a lot of that is the parks, recreation, and trails. will you describe to listeners who aren't from Simpsonville all that Simpsonville has to offer, and then let people who do live in Simpsonville know why it's important and what you do to preserve it and what might be next?
Absolutely. To me, Simpsonville offers the best of the suburbs and the best of city life. And what I mean by that is you have the convenience of living in a subdivision where you can live in a cul-de-sac, right? I live in the county at the end of a cul-de-sac. Most cities don't offer that. And some of our neighborhoods are very closely integrated via sidewalks into our districts, for example, our downtown, some of our parks as well. And in terms of the city side of it, I mean, we do have a charming and lovely historic downtown. We do have that big box alley of commercial development. We do offer superior police, fire, public works services that you just can't get in the county. So it's a really interesting blend. One thing that was really surprising to me about Simpsonville that I learned very early on when I noticed that my commute was a lot easier than it was going into downtown Greenville. I was sort of going against all of the traffic. So it's an easy commute. I was like, why is this the case? Well, it turns out that basically if you are a Simpsonville resident, you are employed outside of the home, there's a 9 in 10 chance that you commute outside of the city to go to work. And so, every morning Simpsonville wakes up, goes to work. Just most of them don't work in Simpsonville. And so, folks have the ability to also easily access jobs and employment centers that are outside of the city and be able to go home in the evenings to their families and enjoy, again, that sort of more suburban lifestyle.
A huge part of what makes a municipality special is its unique public spaces, some of which you've discussed. But Simpsonville boasts major regional amenities like the CCNB Amphitheater at Heritage Park and the highly anticipated upcoming connections to the Swamp Rabbit Trail. How do these recreational projects impact the local economy, residents' quality of life, and how do you use things like hospitality and accommodations taxes to fund them?
Well, that's a great question, Katie. So, as I mentioned earlier, Simpsonville is home to the largest outdoor performing arts facility in the state of South Carolina, and that's the CCNB Amphitheater in Heritage Park. So, we also have a full baseball, softball tournament complex at Heritage Park. And so, frankly, those are amenities that serve our community. We also are working with a new management company, the Opry Entertainment Group. Yes, that Opry is in Grand Ole Opry. They are based out of Nashville. This is their first sort of outside of Nashville or Austin venture. And so we're happy to be working with them to upgrade our facility. They've committed to $6 million in capital investment over the first 5 years of an 11-year contract. And so this is our essentially a transition year, almost like a year zero.
Sure.
And so they're working very hard to have an action-packed 2027. A lot of the bookings for outdoor entertainment occurs a year prior to, and that's just a function of planning for routes and that sort of thing. So, but, we're talking about tens of thousands of visitors who are attending these shows. And when they come to Simpsonville, we want them to not just have a good time and, spend money on a performance. We also want them to do some shopping while they're in town, go out to eat. If it's a multi-day festival, we want them to spend the night in our hotels. Similarly with our baseball and softball tournaments. So performing arts, recreation, those are economic generators for Simpsonville. Another thing that's really interesting is that because Simpsonville has such a strong retail and restaurant base, we're actually able to use those dollars to fund major improvements. For example, our downtown streetscape, it's being paid for largely by accommodations and hospitality tax dollars. So come to Simpsonville, have some pizza, drink a beer, go see a concert, go to Kohl's, and repave our streets downtown.
Yeah.
So it's sort of it's kind of an interesting phenomenon. And again, it's not about the money. It's not about economic development. It's really about quality of life, because our community, our city sports leagues, they take advantage of all of our facilities. Again, the amphitheater and the grounds surrounding it are used not just for Freedom Fest, but for National Night Out, for Halloween and Easter events. We have an annual fair that's in town each May. And so there's just a lot of great, really family-friendly activities. And
That's great.
So it's really remarkable what Simpsonville has to offer.
I love it. We did an episode, we've done a couple, I think, on hospitality and accommodations taxes, just how they work. We can put that in the show notes if anyone's curious to learn more. It's not specific to Simpsonville, but it'll help you get your head around the neat ways that visitors and residents who are availing these kinds of services can help pay for things like cool streetscapes. So thanks for that. Simpsonville has seen incredible growth over the last 2 decades, with both commercial retail happening following all the new residential rooftops. So from a government services standpoint, how do you scale up your core services with that growth? Police, fire, public works, to keep pace with that population explosion?
Right. So ultimately, the question is not, do you need public safety? Do you need public works? You do, right? You need someone to come to your house if you have to call 911. You want someone to pick up the trash every week. And in a city, you expect high quality services when it comes to that. And so Simpsonville offers those. The question really is, who pays? And so, and Simpsonville, to the extent possible, again, we're trying to leverage visitor dollars or discretionary dollars to be able to fund as many of those core services as possible. But we work very closely with our friends at the county. One sort of interesting thing about Simpsonville is that our city is approximately 9 square miles. We have a fire service area, in other words, an area beyond an extraterritorial area of approximately 18 to 19 miles.
I didn't know that.
Yes. That is an unincorporated Greenville County that is served by the Simpsonville Fire District. So we work with, again, our friends at the county they control the taxing authority, the millage in the fire service area. And so we're working with them to adjust that. And, generally speaking, Katie, public safety is paid for through general fund dollars. And the general fund is those coffers are filled usually with ad valorem or property taxes. There are also various fees and other things that come in that are filtered through the state, through the Department of Revenue, or through the municipal association that the city receives. But to the extent that we're able to fund those high quality services beyond public safety with other types of dollars, that's really what we try to do. From a government finance standpoint, it's generally easier to provide services to commercial or industrial users. Residential land uses are typically more demanding of public services. And so there is an incentive to not just have, but to maintain a strong Fairview Road, a strong downtown. I don't want to say it subsidizes, residential development, but it enables us to have one of the lowest tax burdens of any city in Greenville County.
Outstanding. Thanks for that. So you took over as city administrator just last year. And for citizens who are trying to navigate local government, the lines between elected officials and staff can sometimes get a little blurry. I'm sure you saw that when you were at Greenville County as deputy county administrator. So Simpsonville operates under a specific council form of government. Can you explain how the roles are divided between the mayor and city council who set the policy and your role as the administrator and your team in executing those decisions day to day?
Absolutely. So there are three forms of government that are allowed in South Carolina law. Simpsonville is a council form of government. Basically, it means that all policy responsibilities and powers are invested in the council as a body. The mayor is elected, but the mayor is simply another member of council when it comes to those policy setting duties and functions. That being said, the mayor does play a special role in our city, and this is even codified in our ordinances. The mayor plays the role of a figurehead, the face of the city. The mayor also is empowered to call special meetings along with the mayor pro tem, which that's a whole other thing. But the mayor is, in the absence of the city attorney, the mayor is the parliamentarian of council meetings. And so the mayor does play an outsized role in the city of Simpsonville, but strictly speaking, it is a council form of government, which means that there are 7 individuals with equal power in the form of a vote. Now, my role as the administrator is to implement the policies as articulated and directed to me by the council. So if you look at what my role and responsibility is really to make sure that is to create a budget that the council then approves. It's to administer the budget. It is to deal with employees, to hire, fire, suspend, that sort of thing. If it happens on a high level, on a chief or a director level, it has to be done in conjunction with the council. But almost every other employee, the administrator has the authority to deal with. So it's money, it's people, and then really the last piece is infrastructure. So it's the job of the administrator to make sure that the resources of the city are utilized wisely, that they're maintained, that they're replaced in a timely manner, and whether that's fire trucks or parks. And so the best way to think about it is it's really a partnership. I mean, my role, my powers are granted to me directly by the council. The council is not involved in the day-to-day operations, but it's my job to inform them of issues that arise, to make sure that they're well-informed, 1, and then 2, to the extent that there may be some policy-related matters that they understand that there could be issues they need to deal with on a policy level. We employ about 215 folks, and I am just so proud of them. We have a tremendous staff spread out between our fire, police departments, Parks and Rec, Public Works, and administration. So relative to the size of our city, we actually have a very light staff. And so there are a lot of folks who wear multiple hats, and it is challenging at times to make sure that everything that needs to get done is accomplished. But generally speaking, it is. And Katy, before our conversation, I was joking to you that, I'm really not qualified to do the jobs of probably 95% of my employees. We have so many specialized public safety officers. We have technicians. We have experts in theater and park maintenance. We have folks who can jump down a hole and repair a leaky sewer line, who have commercial driver's licenses to operate heavy machinery and trash trucks. And I can't do any of that stuff, Katy. And so, the beautiful thing about it is that we have folks that do. There's a lot of pride in the work that we do. And we have a lot of long time, multi-decade employees. And so that tells you a lot.
Yeah,
That
for
tells
sure.
you that folks, not so much that they want to be a part of the organization as much as like they love the play. And because they love the place, they want to be a part of something great. And so that being the organization. And so they work hard to improve the organization and the community. And so it's kind of a beautiful thing.
How nice. So, with all the growth and the future of South Carolina as a rapidly growing state, and of course, Simpsonville, certainly you have challenges before you, but probably lots of opportunities. So, as we get ready to close, talk about what's on the horizon for Simpsonville.
So I think two things, Katie. One is actually really more related to our history, to our past. And so, like a lot of rapidly growing Sunbelt cities, I mean, much of Simpsonville is new. And so when you look around, sometimes it's tough to see something that's got a little age on it. And so, but we do have some tremendous resources in our old depot. We have a building that it's officially titled the Market Pavilion, but everyone just calls it the Tater Shed because that's what it is.
Okay.
Also have a library from the early 1950s. Our oldest commercial building at the corner of Main and East Curtis dates back to the 1890s, I believe, Katie. And so really for a community like Simpsonville, there's a need to preserve the history of the place because otherwise Simpsonville runs the risk of becoming an anonymous nowhere. And not to pick on Metro Atlanta, but you can drive through 5 different cities on your way to Atlanta and not even know it because it just feels like the suburbs. And so Simpsonville, we have the opportunity to preserve and protect some of that history and that identity. And so I think, strangely enough, looking to the past and protecting that is really one of our major challenges and should be a priority for the city. The other, and not to sound like a city planning nerd, but I'll just say it anyway, is
You
like,
are one.
yeah, I am one. I'm a city planner and a nerd. It's really, how do we shore up that great American suburban experiment? I mentioned neighborhoods that were built in the 70s, the largest ones the largest one in the state at the time. Another wonderful neighborhood near downtown. We have roads that were dedicated in 1974 that have never been repaid. Now, 56 years later, they're in shockingly good shape, but there is a cost to that type of infrastructure, to have the quality of life, the suburban style or lifestyle in Simpsonville. You have to figure out how to maintain it if you want to continue to have the high quality of life that you have now into the future. And so, those are things that we in City Hall and our council were wrestling with. And I think we're doing the best we can to address them. I think that in terms of growth, I mean, as long as the region grows, Simpsonville will grow. As long as we're able to keep Fairview Road and our downtown, active and exciting, will be good. Like our tax base will continue to grow. We just need to make sure that we preserve our history and take care of what we already have. And I think that will really put us in good stead to continue to invest in the future.
That's great. Well, the past is bright, the future is bright, and you're getting ready to celebrate 125 years with SparkFest. And so we'll just share with listeners that there's going to be a week-long Founders Day celebrating that 125th anniversary from August 10th through August 14th, which will be right around the time this episode posts. And people can enjoy an art and history exhibit, a public block party, at lots of different venues. So we can put a link in the show notes where people can learn more. But it sounds like it'll be a fun time and a wonderful way to celebrate.
I know it will, Katie. I guess just one last thought and this really is for folks in Simpsonville. Thank you so much to wonderful staff. Thank you to the elected officials for giving me an opportunity to help shepherd and lead the city. through a really critical time and its history. And so Simpsonville is a wonderful place with wonderful people, and I'm just excited to be a part of the city's story, and can't wait to see where we go from here.
Hi, Simple Civics Greenville County listeners, Nathaniel here. If you've made it this far, then we think you'll really love our newsletter. Sign up for bonus content, updates, and more right in your inbox. Look for the link in the description that says newsletter to sign up, or visit us at simplecivicgreenvillecounty.org. Find the link in the menu that says newsletter and sign up there. We'll see you again next week.